Honorable members, can you humbly get seated? Honorable members, Honorable Kofi Adams, ED, raised an issue. It's really true. We have to take a look at the vote and proceedings dated 30th January 2025. And those who can have access to the console, the statement, the vote and proceedings is there. Can we quickly do the correction of it? Then we move to take statements. Honorable members, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and Honorable page 10.
If you may indulge me, earlier on I tried to catch your attention. Unfortunately, I couldn't. So yesterday, a matter that I raised concerning, and I can see that there is the official report, which will capture the details of that. The vote is supposed to capture highlights, as I understand. And I see highlights of businesses that were prosecuted, captured. Yesterday, a matter which I've considered important on the composition of our committees. The committees are so important. I raised it. We got a response from our colleagues in the majority. I thought it should find expression in the vote. It's a significant matter. Apparently, I can't find it. I can't find it being captured in the vote. Speaker, I think it should be captured. You can rule on this matter, but I think it's a matter that is important.
Honorable member, the vote and proceedings under reference is 30th January 2025.
Look, bear with me. I actually thought you came back to the one we were corrected earlier.
No.
Sorry.
Page 11, page 12. Honorable members, in the absence of any correction, the vote and proceedings of Thursday, 30th January 2025 is hereby adopted. Honorable members, items numbered 6 at page 2 of today's order paper. Statements. Honorable members, we have admitted statements on urgent call for action addressing the conflict between Asante Gold and the people of Bibiani. A statement by the Member of Parliament for Bibiani and Yuaso Bakwai constituency. Honorable Member, the floor is yours. Yes, Honorable Minority Whip.
If you may indulge me, I am aware you've admitted a number of statements. There are a number of statements also on our side. If you may communicate to the House the number we are going to consider. Then, Speaker, you are already indicated that you wish we adjourn as and when appropriate, so we can apportion ourselves in terms of the time.
The honorable member will take two statements.
Two on each side?
Two.
One on each side.
Well, are you talking about the contributors or the number of statements to be taken?
Speaker, I'm talking about the number of statements to be admitted.
Yes, two.
So, Speaker, may I pray you to communicate those you have admitted?
Well, the one I've just mentioned, and then a statement by Mohammed Bawa Brahma, MP for Ejura Secretary.
Speaker, I want to further pray you, if it finds favor, because of the nature of business we have for the day. There are a number of statements on our side. I just transmitted one to you. If it finds pleasure, we should do two on each side so that tomorrow we can run it up. Please.
Well, unfortunately, the statements that I am having here doesn't depict the picture being painted. I've just been given one, which I intend to add, making three. Majority Whip.
Yes, Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, yesterday, the Honorable Member for Dafiama Bunsie, raised a very important matter of an outbreak of some disease in his constituency, cholera, meningitis, sorry. And so the second deputy speaker in the chair directed that he could therefore make his statement today. I don't have a copy. Yeah, unfortunately, he brought it, but because we were at the committee of the whole, he couldn't approach you. He just produced a copy. So I would want to join my brother so that we take an additional, two additional statements, one from each side, to make it four.
Has that statement been admitted already? You know the process.
Speaker, I know. So, with your leave, if I may quickly forward same to you for approval, so same could be made, because it's proceeding under Order 93. Very, very urgent. Yes. I want you to support me in this matter.
Honorable Majority Whip, you may find a better way of doing it.
Very well.
So, Honorable Member, Anyanso Bakwai, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, last week I went to, Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity. Last week I went to my constituency and solved the problem because I presented the statement about 2-3 weeks ago. Yeah, and the issue has been resolved. So there's no need for me to make the statement on the floor anymore. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm most grateful.
Honorable Majority Leader. Honorable Majority Leader. I saw you on your feet.
The honorable member came to intimate to me that he didn't want to make the statement again because he had rushed to the constituency a week ago, resolved it, and so he didn't think that it will advance the course of the resolution on the ground for a statement to be made on the floor. So if you could substitute that with another statement from this side, if any member is available to make a statement on this side.
That should have been communicated to us earlier. But nevertheless, I proceed to give the floor to Honorable Samuel Awuku, MP for Akuapem North Constituency, statement on enhancing lottery proceeds, addressing challenges in Ghana's lottery sector. Honourable Member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, this is a statement on enhancing the lottery proceeds whilst addressing the challenges in Ghana's lottery sector. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to address this House on this matter. As the immediate past Director General of the National Lottery Authority, I would like to bring to your attention the significant but yet overlooked ways the government can optimize the use of lottery proceeds, implement stricter measures against illegal lottery operations, and also maximize the revenue through innovative fiscal strategies, including the tax incentives. This paper is also to highlight the best practices around the world that I believe Ghana can also learn from. Mr. Speaker, the National Lottery Authority was established by the National Lotto Act 206, Act 722, with the primary objective of conducting National Lotto to raise revenue for the nation and other purposes stated in the Act. The NLA today generates revenue in excess of over 300 million annually. However, proceeds are expected to be funneled into the consolidated fund. This contribution is often lost in the country's general expenditure, limiting the impact these funds may have had on targeted development. Mr. Speaker, allow me to propose ways these funds can be utilized for the benefit of the state. According to the World Lottery Association, WLA members and lotteries and betting operators contributed over $91 billion to fund good causes in the fiscal year of 2023. And since 1999, member bodies have raised an estimated total of $1.7 trillion for the public good. These contributions support education, health, environment, restoration of the environmental sector, children with special needs, and sports development. The European lotteries also indicate that without their national lotteries, European society, culture, and welfare will be 21 billion euros poorer. Examples of contributions of member countries include Spain and the Spain's National Association for the Blind, ONC, which established the lottery in 1998. ONC supports 71,000 jobs. That's 57% of these people are persons with disabilities, and provides 230 million euros annually in dedicated funding for social support for people with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, in Greece OPAP has renovated 64% of the two largest children's hospitals in Greece, investing 12 million euros and sharing smiles with 200,000 children. The project, which was launched in 2014, is still ongoing. Since its inception, the Poland's Totalizer, that's their lottery firm, has spent more than 2.8 billion euros on sports development and sports infrastructure, while the Australian lottery has contributed 2 billion euros to sports in its 33-year history. History has it that the famous Great Wall of China, built to protect the Chinese state and empire from invasion by groups from the north, was also primarily sponsored by their lottery proceeds. I'm sure the Honorable Member of Parliament for Bosomtwe will agree with me that in California, USA, 95 cents from every dollar spent on the lottery goes to funding. That's to funding public elementary, middle, and high schools, to support classroom services and educational programs. Mr. Speaker, in the United Kingdom, their national lottery contributed over £80 million to support more than 1,300 athletes in preparation for the Rio Olympics. Their lottery also supports their national health scheme and health charities, including mental health programs. In South Africa, a portion of lottery proceeds funds healthcare for undeserved communities and support HIV/AIDS program. At the same time, our next-door neighbor, Ivory Coast, has a project supported by its lottery body, Lonasi, in every community. In Ghana, under my tenure as Director General, we launched the Good Causes Foundation, which has over the past 4 years touched over 2 million lives by supporting individuals, institutions, and communities in the areas of health, education, youth and sports development, arts and culture. Mr. Speaker, given the lottery's essential contribution to society globally, I believe that if it is properly streamlined, we can do more with the process in Ghana. Therefore, allow me to propose that the current National Lotto Act 206, Act 722, be amended with the guidance of the Ministry and the Minister for Finance to allow lottery proceeds meant for the consolidated fund to be used to support specific projects in critical sectors like health, education, youth and sports development, and other areas directed by the August House. Funds can also be directed towards social interventions for persons with disabilities, elderly citizens, and marginalized communities to improve upon their livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, I also propose that part of the proceeds should also be added to the District Assembly's Common Fund to assist honorable members of Parliament in developing their constituencies. Mr. Speaker, it is essential to demystify the lottery by promoting it not just as a tool for entertainment, but also a significant source of national revenue. We can generate more revenue by implementing transparent processes while educating the public on the social benefits of lottery proceeds. The European lotteries captures it in simple terms, a sustainable model for the benefit of society. Right, Honorable Speaker, I cannot discuss also the operational challenges the NLA faces today without addressing the issue of responsible gaming. That's responsible gaming. Lottery, though a source of revenue for the government, can negatively also impact the lives of people who become addicted to it, particularly the minors who are most vulnerable. I am advocating for the establishment of social centers across our communities to help both the young and old deal with their anxieties, addictions, and social problems. I also urge the NLA and its third-party collaborators to establish advisory bureau in all the centers across their district and regional offices. This will be in line with the standards set by the World Lottery Association. Illegal operations are arguably the bane of the lottery industry in Ghana. In 2022, $1.8 trillion was lost to illicit operations globally. Ghana is no exception, and it is estimated that about 60% of Ghana's lottery market is held by the illegal lottery operators. The proliferation of unlicensed operations denies the state millions of revenue annually. Unfortunately, the NLA Act 722 Section 42 limits the offender's penalties to a fine of no more than 2,500 penalty units or imprisonment for a term of no more than 3 years, or both. Mr. Speaker, the trend in sentencing here in Ghana, especially in the area of illegal operations, has been the imposition of fines, which have not been deterrent enough because these illegal operators have deep pockets and can easily afford to pay the fines and return to their illegal operations. I therefore urge this House to consider amending the current National Lotto Act 722 to impose stricter punishment, including higher fines and longer jail terms, as it is done in Ivory Coast and elsewhere. This would deter these illegal operators from also continuing with that journey. Further, their assets acquired through unlawful lottery activities should be forfeited to the NLA for operational activities. According to an article from the World Folio, governments realize that if you try to block gaming, people are going to play or gamble anyway, with a high probability that they will play within unregulated or illegal sites, where the player is not protected. The argument is, if you want to control online gambling, even land-based gambling, you need to regulate it. Well, and then you also have to manage to control and protect consumers and prevent organized crime and money laundering. Mr. Speaker, online gambling is Malta's second biggest contributor to their GDP, with more than 12% of its annual income through their online gaming services. I'm confident that Ghana can make such gains if the illegal lottery space is appropriately controlled. On the issue of tax incentives, many companies in Ghana receive tax incentives on terms that call for members of both sides of the House and the public to raise legitimate questions about these tax incentives. I am calling for a clear-cut policy to stimulate tangible growth in the lottery industry through tax incentives. And these incentives will stimulate growth, improve efficiency in the lottery industry, and encourage illegally operated companies to register with the NLA so that the state can take advantage of its benefit. To an extent, this will help the NLA address the issue of illegal operations that have taken 60% of their lottery market in Ghana. Additionally, these measures will encourage compliance and discourage underreporting. Should the issue of illegal operators and inefficiency be resolved, the NLA could be raking in an additional 600 million cedis annually. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, Ghana will benefit immensely if we reform the management of lottery proceeds here in our country and strengthen regulations against illegal operations and implement strategic incentives for the sector. These measures will not only boost revenue, but also ensure that the lottery proceeds serve their intended purpose, improving the lives of Ghanaians. Let us take this opportunity to also enact the necessary reforms that will leave a lasting impact on our society. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I will therefore open the floor to take contributions. Subject to Order 93.5. So, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Eche Dapamoko, the majority whip.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, just for clarity, because of the number of statements we have, I want to pray you to my brother, if we can take 2-2, and also to limit the duration so that members can make their comments in a matter of 5 minutes. Okay, yes, 5 minutes, yes.
Thank you very much. Honorable member, you have the floor, 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity. And I want to commend Honorable Samuel Awuku for this very insightful statement. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, lottery is a received learning, a learning that we received from Malta about 62 years ago when the then finance minister of this country visited that country and discovered the usefulness of lottery. He borrowed it for the purposes of implementation in this country. Mr. Speaker, historically, we have been apprised of the significance of lottery to even the budget of the Republic of Ghana. And so, therefore, I'm not surprised that Mr. Awuku is making such brilliant recommendations. Indeed, he deserves to be commended, Mr. Speaker, not only for his authority, the demonstrated authority in the sector, but also the fact that about 2 years ago, he celebrated 60 years of Lotto in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the challenges that he has enumerated are things that are worthy of focus by this House and also the Minister for Finance. Mr. Speaker, because of the historical usefulness of Lotto and how important it has served to the budget of this country, not only in terms of the economy side of it, but also employment. That is why we need to address all the issues that he's raising. Mr. Speaker, in his statement, he highlighted how external or foreign countries have resolved this problem. Given that lottery itself is a foreign learning, I do not think we should shy from borrowing these foreign experiences to resolve the challenges that are inherent in its practices in the Republic of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, where I would encourage us to give a very thoughtful consideration is the fact that we should be identifying sectors where the funds can be applied. However, in doing so, we have to consider whether or not there's the physical space for it, given that most of the revenues of this country are tied to sector and sector-specific. And so, therefore, Mr. Speaker, we need to commend the honourable member for such an insightful statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honourable member. Honourable member, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Please mention your consistency so that our time will be used to it.
I'm Iman Obuam, Pro-East constituency. Thank you. I would want to comment briefly about what the statement made by our honourable member, and it's such an intriguing one. And I want to seize this opportunity to tell our colleagues and the House that this statement, if we look into it, will go a long way to help us bridge most of the financial gaps we have in the economy. I want to focus on a few of the challenges he mentioned. And I think it is something we have to look at it critically. Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to know that out of the many operators of lottery, there are other ones who are operating without being registered. And that is why we spoke about illegal operators. These people happen to do the tabletop one, as we call it, banker to banker. It will also interest you to know that most of the people who do this are unable to account to government because it doesn't come through what we know to be the procedure or the normal way of accounting their revenue. So once anybody who operates is registered, you are able to get an operating license, and that license helps you to go digital. So most of the operators are using the POS. And the POS, it is easier to account for the process you have, upon which you also pay your taxes to government. Yesterday, we belabored a point on using technology to solve the gap in generating revenue for government. Mr. Speaker, this issue, as we spoke about yesterday, has manifested today again. The foreign the countries that have been successful in this did not go using lottery as the only means of doing that, but they employ technology to make sure they increase revenue from operators. It will interest you, as I said earlier, to know that most of the people, when you go to the villages, when you go to areas where they think they are too far to be scouted and then exposed, they do not go through the normal use of this POS. And this is something, as a house, we should take it upon ourselves to consider much, because lottery is another room to generate so much money for us. So I would want to seize this opportunity to thank the honourable member for having brought to light this issue. And I believe, as a house, we should take a closer look at it because it will help us increase the revenue base for government. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, honorable member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity to add my voice to the statement made by the Honorable Samia Oku, who happened to be a former Director General of the National Lotteries. Mr. Speaker, listening to the maker of the statement, it is obvious that lottery, if it is properly managed and properly targeted, this country will stand to benefit more than we are benefiting now. We live in a country where soccer is something that is dear to our hearts. Almost every Ghanaian loves soccer. And if you listen to his statement, countries have applied millions of dollars to improve on soccer in their various countries. If we are able to do that, target revenue from lottery to soccer, I believe that we can improve our soccer. Black Stars will make us happy. We also can create employment for the teaming youth. As Deputy Minister for Defense, Mr. Speaker, there were a number of times I went to see my brother, Honorable Samia Oku, to assist the Ghana Armed Forces. In fact, most of the times they gave some assistance to the Veterans Association of the Ghana Armed Forces. But Mr. Speaker, how much was given to VAC was at the discretion of the Director General. If we are to streamline and know exactly how much is supposed to go where, I believe that that will go a long way to help us. It is sad, Mr. Speaker, that we live in a country where if I sit here as a member of parliament, at the end of the day, when I work and I make something, I pay taxes. However, in this country, betting tax is introduced. Yet, when people are made to pay taxes on the earnings of playing the game, it is seen as an offense. Sadly enough, we in this House have been able to politicize this issue. I think this will not augur well for the revenue we are looking for to develop our country. If people earn, they must learn to pay taxes on their earnings. It's very important. If we fail to do that, then how do we get the revenue from such earnings to develop our nation? He made mention of people who have deep pockets, and so whenever they engage in illegality in operating this lottery system, the only punishment that is meted out to them is just a simple fine. If I have a deep pocket and I am only fined, Mr. Speaker, I can easily pay. The next day, I'll be back in business. We must have stricter punishment for such people so that this country, in the long run, can make the money that we so need to develop our country. I believe that if we are able to do, we will develop the country, we will create employment, and Ghana, at the end of the day, will be better for all. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice.
Thank you, honorable member. Honourable members, Honorable Joseph Kuma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to give a bite to this statement. Mr. Speaker, much as we are talking about the revenue that we generate from lottery, people stake, they contribute income. So if we are talking of taxing them from their earning, wouldn't that be double taxation? Mr. Speaker, we are encouraging people to stake the lottery, and that is enough at that point to encourage them to stake. But if we want to concentrate on taxing them from the earnings, we are just indirectly discouraging them from doing the staking. And this is where some of us think that if a policy is coming out that we should stop taxing the lottery, then we are rather helping them, encourage them to do more staking for the nation to have money. Much as I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, I side with him for the various support lottery gives to the various civil society organizations, especially when we talk of the fiscally challenged, getting it as a source of income to support our various health facilities and other development. Fair, very good enough. It's a very good thing. The maker of the statement started that Ghanaian lottery, they say, support the system with almost 300 million. I am not to ask a question within this. He is just from the system there. I don't know if all that money is normally paid into the consolidated account before it is utilized, so that that figure, we can be sure of it in future. After this, I would like to meet him to be sure of the figure that is normally paid into the consolidated account. I thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you very much. Leadership.
Speaker, let me start off by commending the maker of the statement, who was the Director General of the NLA some time back. I'm happy he's carried his experience on and he's making very good recommendations on how we can rake in the necessary revenue to prosecute public business and to move this country forward. I think oftentimes we've not reverted our minds to this opportunity, and people tend to be too religious about it. But it's a very good opportunity we can look at and be able to up revenue from this area. I think, Speaker, in this House, we've had occasions where such important statements are read, and we are unable to follow through to its logical conclusion. I think this is an important statement. We can't just comment about it and just let go. And particularly to the fact that it was going to help the country's raising of IGF revenue that we can raise to help the government to prosecute all the good things you have promised. So to that end, Speaker, I would pray you to make some consequential directive relative to the statement our colleague made, for us to pry further into it and appropriate it in a manner that can add on to the revenue that we can generate as a nation. I once again want to commend the Honorable Sami Oku for the good statement put out, and to again pray you to ensure that we get to the bottom of it. Speaker, I want to suggest, if pending the formation of our committees, pending, I'm choosing my words carefully, pending the formation of our committees, if it finds favor with you, this may have to be looked at either by the Finance Committee or the Budget Committee or any other committee, Speaker, you deem appropriate. It's an important matter, especially when it goes to the core of issues of revenue generation. Speaker, revenue generation has been a problem for this country for a very long time. And it's often been said that we overtax the formal sector. We overtax the formal sector. And experts have said that is a lazy way of raising revenue to prosecute public agenda and public business. So this might also be one of the opportunities that we can look at how we can up our revenue. So Speaker, I will humbly conclude and suggest that you make some directives so that we don't leave this statement only with the commentaries, but then it will ultimately lead to something significant in terms of revenue generation of this country. I thank you, Speaker, for recognizing me.
Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make some comments in respect of the statement ably made by the Honorable Samuel Oku. Mr. Speaker, indeed, in addition to the orthodox lottery system that we know, the online lottery system is fast catching up with the people who patronize it. And Mr. Speaker, he was able to give some statistics to back the essence of making the statement on the floor. And indeed, it's founded. We are a government seeking to enlarge our revenue sources. And the online is a very veritable one. Indeed, if you take Kenya, for instance, it's projected that this year, the online lottery system alone will give them about $5 million. Alone, the online. In Tanzania, in 2022, they got as much as 96 billion shillings paid to the government by the Tanzania Gaming Commission. Very, very remarkable source of revenue generation. And in Nigeria, Mr. Speaker, this year it's projected that the online industry alone, that's the online gaming industry, will give them $100.3 million. So in addition to the statistics that he's given and others given by my colleagues, the indicators from Nigeria, Tanzania, and Kenya clearly point to the fact that it is an area that we should be paying attention to by way of revenue generation. So I agree with my colleague, the Minority Chief Whip, that maybe as a House, we should refer this to appropriate committee to look at looking into it and advising the House in a small report so that the agencies, when they appear before us, in addition to exercising oversight, Mr. Speaker, you know that we also offer some performance enhancement indicators, so we can direct them as to where they should look to. So with these words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to make my comments in support of the statement made. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Let me add my voice in commending the maker of the statement for bringing his work experience in Ghana Lotteries Authority to bear on how, as a nation, we could reform and regulate the sector for the benefit of our dear nation. Honourable members, the statement touches on strategic use of lottery proceeds, protecting minors and fighting addiction to staking lotto, activities of illegal lotto operators, and issues relating to tax. Honourable members, I will urge upon the Ministry of Finance and the National Lotteries Authority to collaborate in promoting responsible lottery practices and researching into innovative and responsible lottery products which will enhance the industry's contribution to Ghana's economy. Once again, I thank the maker of the statement. Honourable members, I proceed to take the second statement, standing in the name of Muhammad Bawa Brahma, Member of Parliament for Ejura Sechere Odumasi constituency on the destruction of Ejura police station by rampaging youth on the 11th January 2025.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the honourable member. So, with your leave,
Members, in his absence, I'll proceed to give the floor to Honorable Sebastian Sandari, Doctor, MP for Dafiama, Busi, Issa constituency. He has a statement on meningitis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, meningitis remains a significant public health concern in Ghana, particularly in the northern regions where periodic outbreaks occur. The disease caused by the inflammation of the meninges due to bacterial, viral, fungal, or parasitic infections often leads to severe complications, including neurological damage and death, if not promptly treated. The northern part of Ghana is located within the African meningitis belt, which stretches from Senegal to Ethiopia, making it highly susceptible to recurrent epidemics. The disease is characterized by sudden onset of fever, headache, stiff neck, nausea, vomiting, and in severe cases, seizures and coma. Despite efforts to control and prevent outbreaks, meningitis continues to pose a major health threat, especially in rural communities where healthcare access is limited. Mr. Speaker, several factors contribute to the spread of meningitis in Ghana, making the disease difficult to control in certain regions. Some of these factors include climatic conditions. Meningitis outbreaks are more frequent during the dry harmattan season, that is November to April, when dust, low humidity, and strong winds irritate the respiratory tract, making it easier for bacteria to invade the bloodstream and reach the meninges. Overcrowding. High population density in schools, prisons, refugee camps, and poorly ventilated homes facilitates the transmission of meningitis as the disease is spread through the respiratory tract. Poor healthcare access. Many rural communities lack adequate healthcare infrastructure, making early detection and treatment of meningitis cases difficult. Delayed medical intervention increases mortality rates. Socioeconomic conditions. Malnutrition, poverty, and inadequate sanitation weaken individuals' immune systems, increasing susceptibility to infections. Poor hygiene and lack of clean water also contribute to the spread of meningitis. Others include limited vaccine coverage, cross-border movement. Ghana shares borders with Burkina Faso, Togo, and Cote d'Ivoire, all of which experience periodic meningitis outbreaks. Movement of people across these borders increase the risks of transmission. Mr. Speaker, the Upper West region as one of the most affected areas in Ghana with meningitis outbreaks occurring frequently. The region, geographical location, climatic conditions, and limited healthcare infrastructure contribute to the high burden of the disease. The Upper West region remains one of the most affected areas in Ghana, experiencing frequent meningitis outbreaks over the years. The region's geographical location within the African meningitis belt, coupled with harsh climatic conditions and limited healthcare infrastructure, contributes significantly to the high disease burden. Data from 2012 to 2025 highlights the fluctuating nature of meningitis outbreaks in the region. The number of suspected cases peaked in 2016 with 734 cases reported, followed by 425 cases in 2017 and 428 cases in 2018. In 2020, a severe outbreak recorded 421 suspected cases with 50 deaths, resulting in case fatality rate of 13.3%. Although the number of suspected cases significantly declined in 2022, which was 131 cases, 2023, with 97 cases, the case fatality rate remained concerning, with 10.3% in 2023. The year 2025 has seen a significant rise in suspected cases. Mr. Speaker, we're in epidemiological week 6, and the region has recorded 60 suspected cases, 14 deaths, giving a very high case fatality rate of 23.33%. This calls for urgent enhanced disease control measures, Mr. Speaker. I therefore appeal to the government, the Ministry of Health, WHO, UNICEF, and other stakeholders to mobilize technical, financial, and logistical support as a matter of urgency to enable the region to control and prevent the outbreak. Mr. Speaker, meningitis outbreaks in Ghana often result in high mortality rates due to several key factors, including delayed health-seeking behavior, emergence of new serotypes, shortage of essential medicines, limited laboratory capacity, and overburdened health staff due to inadequate distribution of health workers across the country, especially in the Upper West region. Mr. Speaker, strengthening the overall health systems in epidemic-prone regions is urgently needed to address the negative impact of perennial meningitis outbreaks. In this regard, I make the following proposals. There should be meningitis outbreak preparedness. The Ministry of Health should identify innovative ways of ensuring equitable distribution of health workers and other resources. Public health education should be implemented and enforced. Improve healthcare infrastructure to enhance the case management, investment in healthcare facilities, laboratory diagnosis, and the training of healthcare workers should be prioritized. There should be cross-border collaboration with other countries. And Mr. Speaker, the government should establish a public health emergency fund which will ensure sustained funding for current and future outbreaks. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the meningitis situation in the Upper West region has resulted in high mortalities and need urgent intervention by the government and other stakeholders. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The floor is now open for contributions. Subject to Order 93.5 and the agreed time limitation. Honorable Dr. Nawani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute on this very, very important statement. And thank you, Honorable Dr. Sandari, for the statement. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm from the Upper East region, and the Upper East and Upper West were neighbors, and it is said that when your neighbor's beard is burning, it is advisable to fetch water and put by your own. And so what is happening in the Upper East, most often, Upper West, most often will happen in Upper East, Northeast, and Northern region. We are all together in this fight. Right Honorable Speaker, meningitis is a serious and potentially fatal disease. And worldwide, up to 500 million people are at risk of being infected. And we have about 1.2 million cases in a year. That is 20 cases per 100,000 of the population. And indeed, this sickness can cause severe brain damage. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the first paragraph of the statement, and I quote, "The disease is characterized by a sudden onset of fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, and later stiff neck, and in severe cases, seizure and coma." In other words, the disease starts like any other febrile illness. And when you come to the hospital, you can be mistaken for malaria, you can be mistaken for typhoid, and usually the patients don't want even to stay. When you ask them to stay at the hospital, they don't want to stay. They want to go home. And then they come with late presentation. So I will advise practitioners that whenever you meet such cases, please try to detain the patient, because by evening time, other symptoms will come and join, like the neck stiffness, the seizures, the coma. They will come later or in 24 hours' time. So that if you don't detain the patient, some of them will go to the house and will not come back to you. They will say that we went to the hospital, and even with that, the situation is very, very bad. Now, in the management of these cases, the problem we have, that is as a nation or even the world, is that we produce vaccines to treat or to prevent the cases. But the bacteria continue to change its nature. That is what we call the new serotypes that come up. And those serotypes do not respond to the vaccine that was previously used. So in 1 or 2 years, they'll produce a vaccine, it will work for some time, then new serotypes will come, then it will not work. And so, for so long, we'll continue to talk of outbreaks, and we'll continue to have outbreaks. And so we should take notice of it. Now, the infectivity and severity depends on the socio-economic conditions. In other words, malnutrition, poverty, poor hygiene, and even poor accommodation are factors that leads to an exacerbation of the cause. You know, if you go to our old settlements, and shall I put into brackets the Zongo, where we build our houses in different directions, the windows are very small, no ventilation or poor ventilation, you have this case spreading very, very fast. And so we should advise ourselves about how we build our houses and how we plan our settlements. The other issue at hand is the late reporting at the hospitals by patients. And just like I've said earlier, most of the patients do not report early. They sit down in the house and carry out self-medication. But even when they have reported at the hospital, sometimes, let me confess, that we spend so much time trying to diagnose the disease. Go to the lab, do that. Before we know, there are complications. But from the clinical symptoms or signs, like the meningitis, like neck stiffness, like seizures, like the coma, especially the neck stiffness. When it comes with vomiting and headache, then my good friend practitioner, you better start the treatment of meningitis. And the drugs are quite effective. Another problem that we face as a nation is that most of the patients, even after you've started the treatment, they say they cannot afford the medications. So I'm calling on the government of the day that whenever we suspect that there is an outbreak of meningitis, we should declare free treatment for such patients. We should just declare free treatment and treat them as such. The last but not the least is my advice to parents. This sickness affects a lot of children. And most of you have children or you've had neighbors who say that I have 3 children, 2 of them are very, very good at school, but one of them, he's very, very bad. He even sometimes wants to beat me. His behavior is not normal. Please check back and see whether in his childhood he did not encounter this meningitis. And so the complications are hearing loss, the seizures, and learning difficulties. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yes, honorable member in the front seat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement able made by the Venerable MP for Dafiama Buse Isa, the Honorable Dr. Sabas Sandare. Mr. Speaker, this well-researched statement is what we need to combat this menace as far as this issue is concerned. Mr. Speaker, CSM, as it is popularly called, or meningitis, mostly every year raise its ugly head in the Upper West region. And I want to associate myself with the maker of the statement. Particularly, I'm worried about the overpopulated our senior high schools. Many of the classrooms are overpopulated, dormitories are overpopulated, dining halls are overpopulated, and I want to call or use this August House to call on the government, particularly the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, and the laws of enforcement agencies. They should collaborate, and the Ministry of Finance, because we are talking about inadequate logistics here. So I think that these agencies should collaborate so that we can get the necessary logistics to combat this menace so that it doesn't raise its ugly head in the Upper West region. Mr. Speaker, I was a district chief executive for the Jirapa constituency in the year 2015-2016 when there was a meningitis outbreak in the district. I was told that the virus keep on changing. You hear of CSM today, then another year is a different CSM. So the WHO that is responsible for manufacturing the vaccines usually do not manufacture the vaccines down. So I'm sure the current one that is in the Upper West region, there is actually no vaccine for it because they will have to know which type of CSM or meningitis it is before they go to start to produce the vaccine, and now to airlift it to the region in order to, give it out to the victims. Mr. Speaker, I want to also say that the security agencies need to also be empowered or provided with the necessary logistics so that they can do surveillance within the border regions, because we share border with Côte d'Ivoire and other places. Mostly, they also carry it in. Those who are affected can bring it in, and we need, the security agencies and the Ghana Health Service to collaborate in order to deal with these issues too at the borders. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I recognize Honorable Dr. Samuel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the maker of the statement regarding meningitis. Meningitis outbreak, Mr. Speaker, remains a public health challenge in Ghana, and especially in the northern regions. And this region lies in what we call the meningitis belt, and it covers almost 25 countries in Africa, and it's looking about almost 450 million people that can be affected. And meningitis outbreak, normally we tend to see it within the dry seasons. That's normally from November to May each year. That means that we should be expecting that people will be affected with this outbreak. And we know during the COVID outbreak, what we call the Global Fund established some response for COVID. And as a country that we know will be experiencing this meningitis outbreak, we can establish a response so that we get ourselves ready. We don't get to wait till there's an outbreak. In the Western world, where they tend to have annual infection with flu, they tend to vaccinate people 2 to 3 months before the flu outbreak each year. So we as a country can also establish a response so we don't wait till the outbreak before we start talking about. By a month or two before the expected outbreak, we can kick in our response system. Then, of course, we want to look at treatment that has to be done immediately that one identifies such an outbreak or one is infected. So, Mr. Speaker, we as a country, and I think last time I talked about the fact that declaration in Abuja requires us to allocate 15% of our national health budget towards health. This is a serious issue because every healthy nation is a developed nation. And if you are not healthy, you cannot do anything. And as such, we have to have some consequential orders to make sure that enough funds is being allocated to this outbreak, not only meningitis, but all other health issues, epidemics that we are expecting to experience within the year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement ably made by the Honorable MP for Dafiema Buse Issa, a 3-term MP who is in the chamber serving as a motivation for those of us who survived CSM. It is this motivation that is giving me the energy to rise up and speak. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable MP who presented the statement survived CSM, and when he lived through it, he decided to become a medical doctor. And today I am excited that he's in the chamber reading a statement about CSM. CSM is a 65-year-old disease that we discovered that affected northern Ghana. Mr. Speaker, 65 years ago, we started getting to realize that CSM could kill and has been killing. 65 years down the line, all we do is to make statements year upon year, and people will continue to die. I have survived it. Many of the MPs from northern Ghana who are in this room have survived it, and we thank God we have found ourselves in a law-making institution like Parliament, and we are speaking, making sure Ghanaians will listen. There are many things involved in CSM. The prevalent rate is from November to April. That is just about half of the year, 6 months, from November to April every year. And Mr. Speaker, what is surprising is that there is not a single year that you will not hear the story of CSM. But in 1960, the story was really a very horrific one. And the next one that followed was in 1997. 2010,
2016, and we are in the year 2025. The story is not different. Mr. Speaker, if you go up north, when we talk about the fact that CSM is a climate change-related disease, and you still find people living in houses that are poorly ventilated, I think that we should be challenged as a people to begin to talk to our engineers to craft out better housing schemes, better architecture, such that even in the temperatures of 40 degrees and above, you can sleep in your room and you are not exposed to CSM. Mr. Speaker, poor healthcare is another challenge, as rightly illustrated by the Speaker. And I'm so happy that the past government under President John Dramani Mahama introduced what we call the CHIPS compound concept. Primary health care is a challenge to many communities in Ghana. And I want to believe that now that he's back as a president, we will go back to that policy to ensure that every village in this country will have at least a CHIPS compound to deal with primary health care issues. Mr. Speaker, research must be continuous. The disease is changing name and changing image day in and day out. Vaccines are developed and the vaccines become useless within a year. What it means is that we should have to continue to research, continue to develop relevant vaccines to ensure that anytime a new strain emerges, we will have the medical capacity enough to deal with it. Mr. Speaker, if I will want to conclude, I will talk about funding. Public health emergencies are serious issues facing all countries in Africa, particularly Ghana. But when it comes to funding, we seem not to be having the money enough to deal with funding issues. COVID-19 came, and we had the COVID-19 fund. We are still paying the fund, or we are still paying when the emergency is far gone. What is wrong if we repurpose, as he stated, that fund into a public health fund, such that issues like CSM, when they emerge, people do not even have money to go to the hospital to receive primary care. Such people should be treated free and discharged without any cost. But where's the money? Can we continue to borrow to fund our expenses? How can we continue to borrow to consume as a country? Let's do the best that we can to repurpose this particular COVID-19 fund to serve a purpose that will save lives. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I am so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leadership and Direction.
Speaker, I'm grateful. Let me commend the maker of the statement who, as I listen to colleagues, he's a proud survivor of CSM. I'm very proud about that. Doug, we are grateful and we doff our cap to you. So in this time and age, it's quite surprising that this is coming to us as a nation. We are all aware pronouncement, resolutions taken by the WHO on such basic diseases that have been affecting the world, the globe. It's been global public health template that Ghana has signed on to. I am saddened that we've lost 14 lives or so, as the maker of the statement intimated to. And it gets more sad when one comes face to face with the fact that it's kind of a repeated cycle. It's something that we can't pretend about. It's been happening. It happens in the particular month of the year. So it is known. The Ghana Health Service cannot pretend about it. And it's worrying that this matter it appears to be getting out of hand. I don't wish to rehash what the maker of the statement has said, but just to solidarize with him and to particularly make a call that we have a Minister of Health. Speaker, we have a Minister of Health nominated, vetted, and has been sworn in by the President. I'm reliably
Honorable
informed
member,
the minister
I think the minister designate is here to be sworn
is
in.
here to be sworn in. All right. Be it as it's made, we still have the Ghana Health Service. Obama came to these shores of this country and told us that we must make institutions work in this country. So we don't have the Minister of Health sworn in, but we have the Ghana Health Service. Ghana Health Service. Speaker, we can't always be waiting on the politicians. And oftentimes we lazily put the blame at the politicians. We have dedicated public service, public health service, people who are paid by the taxpayers' money. And it cannot be a case. I would have zeroed in on the minister, but to the extent that he has not been sworn in, I want to be fair to him. Because there must be a way that the Ghana Health Service should come and explain to us. Is it the case that we are lacking vaccines? Is it the case that they never knew about this? They are sleeping on the job? What is happening? They must come and give us some reasons. And we can make the argument that, well, we should wait for the minister to be sworn in, but I would differ. The leadership of the Ghana Health Service should come and tell us why this matter is as where it is. In this time and age, we can't be allowing such basic ailment to be taking lives. It's because, interestingly, Upper East share borders with Upper West. And if you are not careful, it will result into a calamity. So I want to humbly suggest that, because earlier on I had prayed you, I don't know if this prayer will find favor with you. In the face of the fact that we don't have a minister sworn in, can we invite the Ghana Health Service? If for nothing at all, they should. This is an ailment that is taking the lives of people, innocent Ghanaians, and that part of the world. Statistics have shown that poverty is so pronounced there. So they may not even have the wherewithal to procure the vaccines. So necessarily, the Ghana Health Service must go to the aid of the poor people at the Upper West. Otherwise, the matter will get out of hand. So to that end, I want to pray you that you allow or you direct the Ghana Health Service to come and brief this House, i.e. Committee of the Whole. Because we don't have our committees, I would have said that the Health Committee should meet with them and probably do a small report to us. They should come and tell Parliament, at the Committee of the Whole, what is the case? Are they atop the situation? Why is it that this matter is something that they know is a seasonal matter? It happens particular months of the year. Is it the case that we slept or we lack vaccines? What is the issues? So that this House can exert our powers and ensure we bring some control to this. I am very saddened. I'm totally saddened that lives have been lost as a result of this, and something has to be done. The honourable member you can see sadness all over him. Let's go to his aid. You are sad, I can see it. We should go to his aid. This House must go to his aid. We must invite the Ghana Health Service to do the needful. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Majority Whip.
Speaker, may I, with your leave, yield my time to Dr. Bayu?
Very well.
Thank you.
Doc.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Thank you to my leader for yielding to me. And I want to commend the maker of the statement and the earlier contributors to the statement. My constituency, Lambuse, is also affected. We fall within the meningitis belt, and in Africa, it moves all the way from Senegal to Ethiopia. So several countries, as has been mentioned earlier, are affected. Mr. Speaker, I just want to draw the attention of my colleague doctors to the fact that the dominant causative organism for this current outbreak appeared to be strep pneumoniae, that's Streptococcus pneumoniae. And this organism is slightly different from the Neisseria meningitidis that has always been the cause of this condition. The difference in this also affects the clinical spectrum. Earlier speakers alluded to the presentation of neck stiffness, hearing loss, fever, but this organism has an atypical presentation. So if clinicians are waiting to see these symptoms, unfortunately, they may pick it up very late. And unfortunately, this strain is also very, very virulent and quite fatal. Unlike the common organism that we know that will present with the early symptoms and doesn't kill as much, the strep pneumoniae appear to be very fatal. Good news is that it doesn't spread as rapidly as the earlier organism I mentioned. It is therefore important that clinicians are aware of these differences, and people in the affected areas must report early. There is effective therapy for it, treatment for it, and when the appropriate antibiotic is given, people can be cured. But if not given early, then the long-term effects of cognitive problems, nerve problems, deformities, hearing loss will persist. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Ghana Health Service and inform this House that I have become aware that the Acting Director General of the Ghana Health Service has declared free treatment for the current outbreak in the affected districts, where persons who do not have even the health insurance, the treatment is covered by the health insurance, but persons who do not have health insurance still will get treated for free. And I think government needs to be commended for that action. It is expected each year, and preparations have been far advanced, but this current strain, unfortunately, cannot be prevented by the existing vaccines. This will then call into focus the National Vaccine Institute that was established by the previous administration, which I think is a sensitive national institution that should come into action on situations like this and develop vaccines that are suitable to our local context. Mr. Speaker, before I will wrap up, I want to plead with you and join the plea of the Minority Chief Whip, but slightly in a different direction, that in the absence of a health committee, if it will please, Mr. Speaker, that this House can constitute a committee, a small committee, to go to site and see what is actually happening. Because we do not have a health minister yet, and the Director General of the Ghana Health Service is in an acting capacity, and I know they have assembled a team of epidemiologists to handle this, but if it pleases the House, then a smaller committee can be constituted in the interim to visit the affected districts, see what is on the ground, and report back to the House, so that we can still play some oversight role to make sure that we are a voice for the voiceless. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Let me thank the maker of the statement for ably bringing to the floor the outbreak of meningitis in the Upper West region. Honourable members, the causes, effects, and some recommendation as to how the disease can be combated are suggested in the statement. Consequently, I would direct that the statement be referred to the Ghana Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health is to take immediate action to create awareness, conduct contact tracing, intensify the provision of medical care to the affected victim, and consider the establishment of the Public Health Emergency Fund. Honourable members, I so direct. Honourable members, we've come to the end of statement time. Any indication?
Speaker, to seek your Speaker, we're hoping that you would have been given the Ghana Health Service some indication as to timelines when they should come to the House to brief us on this matter.
Honourable member, I choose my words carefully. I would have been doing that if you have the minister sworn in. But as we speak, he's yet to be sworn in. That's why I'm hesitant, giving timeline within which he should report. So maybe there may be consequential directives after the minister responsible for health is sworn in.
Very well, Mr. Speaker, we are guided. Mr. Speaker, in view of the fact that we come to the end of statement time, we'll pray that we are entirely in your hands. We'll pray that we adjourn the House tomorrow.
Remember, are you moving a motion? We haven't gone beyond 5 hours.
Okay.
Speaker, ordinarily, I would have agreed with my colleague. Safe to say that the second deputy, the Speaker, had admitted a statement in the name of the Honorable Dr. Stephen Amwa. Unfortunately, he couldn't transmit same to you. I just had a word with him, and he said he has sent his usher to bring a copy. Fortunately, I have a copy, so I've just minuted on it and forward same to you.
Honourable member, we'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, considering that it's past 2 p.m., we are entirely in your hands. But the mood of the House is that we are gentle tomorrow. Thank you.
Honourable Minority Whip.
So I second the motion move.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved and seconded, and the question is, as many as are in favour of adjournment, say aye. As many as are against, say no. The ayes have it. The House is accordingly adjourned till Friday, the 7th day of February, 2025, at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Thank you, honourable members.